You are now tuning into the Resilient Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Rob Aurelius, and welcome to episode 8 of the Resilient Podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about waves of emotions during the healing process. And, today, for this particular episode, because I mentioned in the previous episode that I was going to have most likely a guest on this episode. Unfortunately, that guest is under the weather right now, so we had to reschedule. And it's going to be a solo episode with yours truly, Rob Aurelius. In the last episode, we talked about the process that, it takes during healing from a breakup. And in this episode, we're going to talk about my situation with it being now 4.5 months since my ex-girlfriend and I broke up. And it is now August. And it's when the month started, I was feeling like, oh man, in a few days, it's going to be a year since I first reached out to her. And then I said to myself, this is all on the 1st of August, right? And then I said to myself, in a few weeks, it will make a year since we met. And in 2 days, it's going to make a year of what was supposed to be our 1 year anniversary. And then on the 21st of August, unfortunately, it's going to be 5 months since we broke up. So August is not a nice month for me. And it's difficult. And it hasn't been easy. Like I've said to you guys, it has not been easy at all. It's been very, very difficult. So a few days ago, I was looking at my phone and I looked exactly at the first message I ever sent her. And it was on August 6th. I was coming back from Detroit, or I think I was in Detroit. I went out there for SummerSlam. SummerSlam just happened a few days ago um, in Cleveland. And I was supposed to be there. But because I'm filming this project, and I will talk to you guys about the project in a few minutes. Because I'm doing this project, the Resilience Project, which is the documentary, I decided to not travel for the month of August and send out my photographer, Diego, to do the media stuff for SummerSlam this year in Cleveland. But last year, I went to SummerSlam in Detroit, and it was beautiful. It was my first time in Detroit. I can't wait to go back again. It was just a beautiful time. It was loud, the Motor City, hearing all them engines, hearing all those motorcycles, all those cars, all those, just it was crazy. And then the weather was great. So a year later, I'm reflecting on that. I'm reflecting on everything that's happened. And the other day, I could not help but go to my phone, go into my DMs, and listen to the conversations that I had with her the first few days that we connected. And, the things that she said to me in the very beginning is the very reason why I felt that she was the one. She said so many beautiful things And I don't know if it came from the heart. I don't know if she sincerely meant it. I don't know. But she sounded like a woman that wanted to finally find a good man. And the things that she shared with me made me want to be exactly that, a good man. Um, and then once the relationship kicked off, the first few weeks were nice. The first month was nice, or fair to say the least. The first few weeks of September were nice, and then shortly after, um, she started to get comfortable and show me who she was. I know I have no desire, and by no means am I talking about my ex girlfriend to bash her, to talk down on her, to make her look like a demon or a monster. I'm only expressing how I feel. I'm only expressing how I felt. I'm only expressing how all of this has affected me. So, with the healing process, a lot happens. And what that is called, like the phases when 1 minute you're sad, 1 minute you're happy, 1 minute you're indifferent, it's called waves of emotions. And, you know, in this episode, I want to talk about understanding and navigating through the waves of emotions that come with the healing process. Um, you know, I want to talk to you guys about understanding the concept of emotional waves. And, the other day I was filming for the documentary, and I was talking to a friend, and I was talking about the waves of emotions. And to 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 kick off this topic, I want to ask a question, and then I want to answer it, and hopefully you all can agree. And the first question that I'm thinking about is, what does it mean to experience waves of emotions during healing? And my answer to that question is, waves of emotions refers to the unpredictable and fluctuating emotional state that one experiences during healing. Just as waves in the ocean can be calm or turbulent, emotions can range from moments of peace to intense sadness, anger, or confusion. And you would ask yourself, well, why do these emotions, these emotional waves occur? And these waves occur because healing, like I mentioned to you guys in the last episode, is a non-linear process. Emotions are influenced by various factors, such as memories, triggers, and personal growth. And our brains and our hearts take the time to process and adjust to significant changes or losses. So, I want to talk to you guys about the common emotional waves and their triggers. And, I remember somebody asked me about a few months ago. I think it was a friend of mine that was on the phone with me. because I had spoken to my therapist about this, and my friend had said, what are some of the common emotional waves people might experience during healing? Because this friend of mine also was going through the healing process, still is. And I said, well, one of the common ones are grief and sadness. Grief and sadness often triggered by memories or reminders of what was lost, you know? And, um, you know, the one that I know that I have been feeling during this breakup, during this healing process, is anger and frustration. And anger and frustration can arise from feelings of feeling unfairness and or betrayal. And the reason why I feel unfairness and sometimes betrayal is because I asked myself, I asked my ex-girlfriend during a conversation that we had, one of the last conversations that we had, and I actually recorded this. I recorded this conversation because I didn't know if this was the last conversation we were going to have. And it wasn't. But I asked her, was I a bad boyfriend too? And she said no. And I asked her again, are you sure? Can you say this with your chest? And she said, no, you were not. She seemed to get annoyed and upset when I asked her that question. But I felt that she generally meant the answer no when she said it. But then how she reacted towards me after we officially broke up, you know, when I left her that note at her door at her house back in April, and um she became a different person, or at least she became who she was supposed to be all along, right? And I said to myself, when I met this woman and in the 6 months that we dated, I brought it upon myself to, first of all, the first time we went on a date, and I don't consider the first day when I met her, which was August 18th. I don't consider that our first date, even though we went and got tacos after that, right? I consider our first date the 20th, the day that I officially asked her to be my girlfriend, which was 2 days after I met her. I considered it the first date because we went out bowling. And after we went bowling, I can't remember when we had to eat, but I remember that we went out for some drinks after bowling. We had 2 rounds, and she beat me in both of them. And I'll never forget it. And I think it was one of the funniest moments of my life. But I was so happy. And I remember um how much I was into her that day. I remember just being so attracted to her that day. And I said, that's crazy. The first day I saw her, I liked her, but I wasn't head over heels for her like I was on August 20th, which was the day I asked her to be my girlfriend. And it was the first day that, I went to her house, slept over. And that night I asked her, would you be my girlfriend? She said yes. And I said to myself, in those 6 months, the day I asked her out, I got her a turtle, a pet turtle, and we named him Philly. And the following month, I let her come into my world, and I took her to the Global Citizen Festival. And the reason why is because two of her favorite um, artists were there. You had some of the members of Stray Kids there, and we had Jungkook there, right? And I did that because I wanted her to see a day of the life of Rob Aurelius and ARCG Media, which is my company. And then in September, well, around that same time, Global Citizen will be actually before Global Citizen. Labor Day weekend came, right? And we went to Jersey. First time we stayed in a hotel together um, in Baskin Ridge, New Jersey. A very nice place that I liked going to. And also, I took her to Brooklyn for the first time. She had never been to Brooklyn. So I took her to Brooklyn. I took her to this very nice place that she wanted to go to, a place that she mentioned. Um, I think they have a few locations in New York, but I took her to the location in Brooklyn. And it was a place where you could play video games and you could eat food. Like they're known for their beautiful looking burgers and their fried chicken. And, this is just me like immediately learning what she wants, what she likes. And because of my love of language, listening and gifting, I started doing a series of things to show her that I cared about her. She never asked me for any of these things, but I did it for her. So in those 6 months that we dated, we did um, Global Citizen Festival. We had a few staycations, but they were mainly in Jersey. Um, Halloween is her favorite holiday, and I've never celebrated holiday with a girlfriend. I may have been in a relationship in the past during Halloween, but I didn't go out trick or treating with a girlfriend or anything. Um, but this year, well, last year, we we didn't go trick or treating, but we had a Halloween party. We bought pumpkins, we carved it, we had food, we had candy. We, for the first time in my life, I did matching pajamas with her. We both had scream masks. I did a photo shoot for her, which she had posted the photos, and they were nice, very nice photos actually, of her with a scream mask, wearing like a very sexy outfit. And I remember how special it was. And all I said to myself was, I hope that I made this spooky season special for her. And then after that comes November, and we celebrate her 30th birthday. And originally, she wanted to go away with her sister to Mexico. And unfortunately, they weren't able to because something happened to the sister, like a medical situation, and they had to postpone their trip. And I stepped in because I said, listen, I'm her boyfriend. And I stepped in and I invited her to New York to celebrate her birthday in New York. And I took her to this very nice rooftop. Before we did that, I took her on a little tour of Roosevelt Island, which is one of my favorite places to reflect, aside from Hartford, Connecticut, but it's one of my favorite places. And I took her there again, like letting her into my world. And before we went on her birthday dinner, the night before, she came into New York, and we had soul food for the first time. And I'll never forget that. And the soul food place was so good. Expensive, but it was so good. And the next day, we went out, we did a little bit of touring and around Roosevelt Island, and I took her out for sushi for lunch. And then at nighttime, we had the dinner. But before we had the dinner, I did a birthday photo shoot for her. And she had just this beautiful pink dress. And I wanted to show the world how beautiful she looked on her birthday. And the cake that I got her, this is one of the reasons why I feel the betrayal and the unfairness. A while ago, before her birthday, she spoke to me about the blank space cake from the Taylor Swift video. And I said to myself, what kind of cake is it? And she mentioned blank space cake. And or space blank cake. I don't know how you call it exactly. And I looked into it, and that was her cake for her birthday. I have pictures of the cake. And I surprised her with that cake because I wanted her to think, man, whenever I talk to him about something, he actually listens. He actually pays attention to what I'm saying to him. And maybe for that moment, that's how she felt. But after we broke up, all of that went out the window. She doesn't care. And then Christmas time comes. But before Christmas time comes, she's moving into her apartment. She was living in Drexel Hill, which was the outskirts of Philadelphia, and then she was moving into closer to the city on the northeast side of Philadelphia. And I remember that week was a very busy week, and I remember going back and forth with Dolce and Gabbana, because I kept saying, "Hey, I need a few days off. I need a few days off. Up these days I need off," and it's because she was moving. I wanted to help her move. I wanted to be an extra hand, and I got to Philadelphia to help her. And she was stressed out. She was stressed out with so much. But we hadn't been intimate in a while. The last time we were intimate was actually after her birthday, and she was just so stressed out, and so much was going on, and I just wanted to be there for her. And I kept saying, "Listen, think about it this way: you're finally moving out. You're finally getting that weight off your shoulders." And I said to her, "The holidays are coming. You're going to spend Christmas and New Year's in your new place. You're going to start off a new year in your new place." And I told her, "Remember those days that you were sad? Now you're going to get those days of happiness. And I look forward to those days of happiness for you." So I helped her move. That weekend that I helped her move, she was stressed out. And of course, she was very moody. And I remember just saying, "Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal." But I was sad because I said to myself, "Man, I came all the way from New York to Philadelphia to help her move. And it seems like she doesn't even appreciate that I'm here, you know?" And every month I got her flowers several times. And I know that there might be people out there that might say something like, "Well, getting her flowers is the bare minimum. What are you complaining about?" But I got her flowers whenever she was feeling down. I got her sometimes her favorite snacks. Sometimes I got her her favorite meal. Sometimes I got her her favorite drink. And in return, when we broke up, I couldn't even get a thank you for everything. Thank you for what you did. So I feel like she was unfair. I felt like I was betrayed. And I shared all of that with everyone because, we're talking about the waves of emotions. So some days I'm thinking about the beautiful things that she did, like the Christmas gifts that she got me. She got me that 5-year journal that I showed you guys in the last previous episodes. Um she treated me for the first time when I had Korean barbecue. Never had Korean barbecue before, and she treated me to that. Um, she did things for me, not as much as I did for her. And I'm not going to sit here and say that she should have done the equal amount of things I did for her, or she should have done more for me. I am the man. The man should do more for the woman than the woman does for him, right? At least that's how I feel. But it's like, I don't know, man. I just felt like she never truly appreciated me. So let's get back to what we were talking about with the anger and the frustration, and remember saying that you know Anger and frustration can arise from feelings of unfairness and betrayal. I'm always going to feel like I got the short end of the stick in this relationship. I'm always going to feel like she never poured into my cup. And as much as I pretended that she did, she never actually poured into my cup. That causes, um, you know, anxiety and fear because throughout the relationship, I mentioned in a previous episode that I had the anxiety and fear when I would sit in her car and just think about, I can't put myself in the position to be an ex-boyfriend because I don't know how I'm going to be treated, what kind of treatment I'm going to get if I become an ex-boyfriend. And I feel like I got the worst treatment out of every single ex-boyfriend that she's had. She still to this day has a video and pictures of an ex-boyfriend on her Facebook. This is a man who she claimed that cheated on her, treated her bad. And when I brought it up to her one day, she got offended by it. Even in the breakup conversation, she brought it up and she said, "Oh, I don't care about Facebook. I don't care. This is so long ago and I could care less about homeboy." That's exactly what she said. But when we broke up, she deleted everything that had to do with me and even continued to do that. A few months later, there was posts from when I first started writing beautiful messages to her on Facebook. And she went on her Facebook and she looked for those comments because she probably remembered, or she probably said to herself one day in the car, "Let me see if he's ever written anything to me on Facebook." She went and deleted it. She's deleted everything on her Facebook and her social media that is connected to me or it's tied to me. She wants to make it seem like I never existed to begin with. And I was the ex-boyfriend who loved her, still loves her, validated her feelings, put my feelings to a side for hers, cared about her health, cared about to make sure she was always doing better and doing well. Put put literally my life on hold to focus on her. And it goes back to the unfairness and betrayal that I feel through the waves of emotions. But the uncertainty about the future and the self-doubt that I felt while I was in that relationship with her was just the worst. But it's crazy. You have anxiety and fear, and you can also feel relief and peace. Like when I talk about moments of acceptance and calm during the waves of emotions, like the acceptance part of she's not going to be with me ever again. She's never going to look for me ever again. It hurts. It hurts that she's going to walk on this earth for the rest of her life and pretend I never existed. But I have to make peace with that. And there's times that I think about it and I'm like, you're going to be fine. And then one of my favorite words, nostalgia and longing, missing the past or feeling sentimental. Those are parts of the waves of emotions. And let's talk about what are some of the typical triggers for these emotional waves. Triggers, like in my case right now, can include anniversaries, significant dates, seeing or hearing something that reminds you of the past, unfortunately, story of my life, interactions with others, and even certain locations or activities. I can't go to Philly and not think about her. She's from Philadelphia. She lives in Philadelphia. So for the rest of my life, every time I make a trip to Philadelphia, I'm always going to think about this person. So we've discussed that. Let's talk about navigating these emotional waves. How can one manage the emotional waves during the healing process? It's not easy, but managing emotional waves can involve acknowledging and accepting the emotions, understanding that all feelings are valid. All feelings are valid, whether you're right or wrong. Those feelings are always valid. They're valid and part of the process. And, you know, creating a self care routine is very important. Regular activities that promote mental and emotional well being, like exercise, meditation, or creative pursuits. Practicing mindfulness and grounding techniques is something that I'm working on right now. And that's pretty much staying present and managing overwhelming emotions. One thing that I have not been ashamed of doing during this healing process is seeking support, talking to my friends. I've shared a little bit of that information with my family. I mentioned this in the previous episode that I don't talk to my family too much about my personal life because of the relationship that I have with them, but I have been transparent with them and I have let them know that I am single. And I've told them what happens. Um, of course, my therapist, I speak to her all the time. I seek support from her all the time. I speak to my therapist once a week. Um, and, you know, talking to someone that can provide comfort and perspective, it's very, very important. So, how can understanding these emotional waves, sorry, contribute to personal growth and resilience? Well, um, it's about understanding that emotional waves are a natural part of healing and they can help normalize the experience and reduce self criticism. This awareness allows for self compassion and the opportunity to learn and grow from com- um, the experience, ultimately building resilience. So, waves of emotions are real. Sometimes people don't realize it, sometimes they do. But, waves of emotions was something that I learned in a past relationship of mine when my previous ex spoke about waves of emotions during our breakup. So, in this episode, I want you guys to think about your experience of navigating emotional waves during your healing period. Share a personal experience, your therapist, your friends, someone, share with me where you felt the ups and downs of emotional um, distress and whatnot during healing. It's please understand that it's normal to discuss how you coped and what you learned from the experience. So ask yourself this question, because I know the answer to this question. How have these experiences shaped your understanding of healing and emotional resilience? Reflect on how these experiences have contributed to your personal growth, understanding of emotions, and approach to challenges. And, if you have to, recap the key points discussed about emotional waves and the impact on the healing process for you. Emphasize the importance of self awareness, self compassion, and most importantly, seeking support. And, don't feel shy and don't feel discouraged to share a final thought or piece of advice for those who may be navigating through their own emotional waves as well. Because you could be talking to someone about this situation, and then they could tell you about a similar situation happened to them. This is how I met James, the guy that I mentioned to you guys that had fixed my laptop. I shared with him the story with Ashley, and then he shared with me a similar story of what he went through with someone who also was from Philadelphia when he was actually in Drexel University. So, folks, I want to encourage you guys to share your experiences or questions about navigating emotional waves with me. I'm inviting you all to follow me on my social handles, Rob Aurelius, which is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and follow the podcast. As you can see on the bottom, follow us on X, follow us on Instagram at TheResilientPod. This outline that I shared with you guys provides a structured approach, if you may, to discussing the complexities of emotional waves during the healing process, offering you all insights and practical advice. I hope that I was able to help someone today. If you're in that same situation, if you're in the same boat as me, I hope that I was able to help. Like I said, this is a difficult month for me. This episode would have been a little different if I had my guest, but I had to talk about this. So, it's difficult for me. It really is. And I'm going to try my very best to get through this month. But, I always finish these podcast episodes with the message to the world. And my message to the world right now is dark times teach you a lot. That's why you can't regret what you went through, but rather be thankful for all the lessons it taught you. Every situation that destroys you teaches you a lesson. Remember that. Turn your struggle into success, and don't let setbacks hold you back. Find resilience. Overcome the dark times Because remember, we're not meant to stay in the same place forever. Eventually, we heal and we move on. That's what this podcast is about. Right now, I'm in the early stages of this healing process of this podcast. This is episode number 8. We're talking about waves of emotions. But I look forward to the days that I can talk on this podcast about other things. And maybe talking about my ex-girlfriend no longer seems to be a thing anymore. I want to say that there will be another episode at the end of this month. And if I don't deliver to you all another episode for this month, please, in advance, I apologize. But just understand that at the end of the month, it's going to be very, very difficult for me. Because I was expecting the end of the month to be the 1 year anniversary. I had so much planned. And unfortunately, I won't be able to do any of those things. And I don't even think it would have crossed her mind that our 1 year anniversary was supposed to come up. She's such an emotionally avoidant person that either she's already moved on, she probably has someone else, or if she doesn't have someone else, she's just doing her. But she's not going to sit there and think in her car or in the shower or when she lays down on bed, oh, wow, what could have that been if I made 1 year with this man? I guess I will be the only one thinking like that at the end of the month. How would have that been a year later? So, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in to episode number 8. And I look forward to talking to you all again, episode 9. And this time, I promise you, episode 9, I will have a guest. It's been some time since I've had a guest on this podcast. So for now, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate all the love and support. And remember, we all have one life to live. Live it well. Thank you all. God bless you all. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Resilient Podcast. For now, this is Rob Aurelius signing out. Peace.